What's going on YouTube? Today's video is about my favorite mod tracks for drifting on Assetto Corsa. I mainly prefer toges and tight technical courses, so the majority of these are actually going to be toges. These are in no particular order, and I apologize beforehand for the terrible pronunciation. I am a stupid American and I do not know how to pronounce these properly. So let's just jump right into it. Starting us off is going to be hands down my favorite place, Usui Pass. It's a really good flow with a good mix of high speed and medium low speed corners. It's not super technical, but there are some tight spots that will give you a challenge, as well as some really wide open spots that will give you a lot of good, nice flowy drifts. It is an older track. It's been around for quite a while. It's one of the first tracks I actually started drifting on, but it still visually holds up very well. I think it's a really good beginner to medium skill level toge track, and if you're looking to get into toges, I think it's a great place to start. Up next we have Hayato, which is a super tight, short, and easy to learn toge. However, it is really narrow, so there's not a lot of room for mistakes, and it will force you to learn good car placement, line choice, and just low angle drifting in general, because you do not have a lot of room for big angle. It is one of my favorite tracks to get just a couple buddies in and we'll go run that, and it's just super fun because it doesn't take very long to go up and down. You're able to get tons of runs in a very short amount of time, and like I said, because it's so short, it's really easy to learn and memorize quickly. Coming to our first circuit on the list here is Bihoku circuit. It's one of the least visually pleasing tracks. It's also pretty old, but it is still a super fun track. It has two separate layouts. There is a larger track that is relatively simple and has an easy flow, but there are some inner layouts that you can run and connect to make it a little bit more challenging, a little bit more fun. And on top of that, there is a tighter, smaller back track that is a little bit more narrow, but is a lot more reminiscent to a toge, and there's a lot of elevation changes and some hairpins, and it's all around a really fun track. The tracks do have small connecting roads between them, so you can actually connect them into a one giant long track. Well, giant is relative, but one large long track that you can have a lot of fun with, where we'll give you some high speed challenges and some low speed technical challenges. All around, it's a really good track just to have a lot of fun on and get some good drifting in. The next circuit on the list here is Setonaikai. I believe it is a kart track, which kind of explains the awkward, tight flow of the track. There are some tight hairpin style corners that have some longer straights connecting to them that are just long enough to be a little bit awkward. I think that's actually what gives the track its charm and a little bit of a technical challenge. Linking the corners without manjiing or three motion can take a little bit of driving finesse, and I think that's a great track to actually practice it on. And there is plenty of off-room. It's not like Hayato where there's guardrails right next to you. It's a track and there's plenty of grass to if you have to go off while you're practicing. Practicing tandems on this track is also really fun because, again, the slightly awkward nature of it gives it a little bit of a technical challenge and makes tandeming really fun on this track. I highly recommend checking it out. Getting back to a toge, we have Sadamine toge. It's a really nice balance between high-speed sweeping corners and low-speed technical corners. There are some tight sections that can be a little bit unforgiving and a little bit of an awkward flow, again giving you a nice challenge. But at the same time, there's some pretty high-speed flowy corners that are just really fun to go all out and keep your foot on the gas. It really makes for a good fun run, and there's some good elevation change with some high-speed downhill stuff and some medium downhill that's just a nice flowy nature. It reminds me a lot of the Usui in a way, which also explains why it's one of my favorites. Another toge I'd recommend checking out is Nagao. It is similar to Hayato and Usui if they kind of came together and had a child. It starts off semi-tight and technical, but there's a little bit more room than Hayato has. Not much, but a little bit. And then as you get further down the hill, there's some high-speed straights with some sharp hairpin entry corners, which is very reminiscent of Usui. If you've mastered Usui and you're looking for a bit more of a challenge, this is the perfect toge. It takes a while to memorize and learn because it is significantly longer than Hayato, but it's a really, really fun track and I highly recommend checking it out. Finishing off this list here, we got Pat's Acres. Pat's Acres is one of my favorites because, again, I'm a big fan of toges and being a small, tight kart track that is somewhat elevation change. It's not going up massive hills, but there's a bit of a dip and bumps here and there, and it's not a lot of track surface room. So once you're sideways at big angle, you're pretty much right on the edge of the track limits at all times. It's really popular for drifting, and it's one of my favorites. I highly recommend checking it out, and it's a really fun track to tandem on, again, because of the limited space and how much it just kind of flips and folds on itself. That will round out this list of my favorite tracks to go to. These are all tracks that I will just jump right into when I'm looking for something to have fun on. If you're a beginning drifter, I recommend checking out the tracks that I said that were a little bit easier. If you're somebody with more experience, I would definitely recommend checking out the tracks that are a little bit more difficult and giving yourself a challenge. All these tracks will teach you great car control and will give you a good challenge. So if you check any of these out, let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for watching.